So thank you all for joining us and welcome to this Culture of Impact discussion. This Culture of Impact is a series of activities and events we are doing basically to explore how leadership and continuous improvement and transformation together with digital intelligence can really create measurable and sustainable success. Today, this Culture of Impact series will make a bit deep dive in this digital intelligence part, but always with this connection between as I said, leadership, continuous improvement, and transformation and digital intelligence. So today we have the pleasure to be, I am very well accompanied with four top executive members of several multinational companies. We have today Jose Vivar from Bank of America, Senior Vice President, Business Process Design and Transformation. Hello, Jose.
Oh, nice to be here.
Thank you so much for joining us. We have also Daniel Jover, former Global Head of OPEX and Efficiency in Maersk, and today founder of Revolution Lean. Thank you so much, Daniel, for joining us.
Nice to be with you.
Thank you, Daniel. We have also Elio Yáñez, that is today the COO of Future Pipe, international company also, and former also OPEX leader in other multinational companies. Thank you so much for joining us, Elio.
Thank you, Borja. Thank you, and hello, everyone. Pleasure to be here today.
Thank you so much. And last but not least, Oscar Garcia. Thank you so much, Transformation Office Director in Southern Europe of TK Elevator, the former ThyssenKrupp. Hello, Oscar.
Thank you. Thank you. Hello, everyone, and thank you for the invitation, Borja.
Thank you so much, all of you. So let's begin with this discussion with an open question, an open and quick question, and I will ask to ask you all, what is the biggest shift you have observed in how organizational performance is defined and measured within your companies in the last months or years, if there is any change? We can begin with you, Elio.
Okay, then from my side, what I would say is that the biggest shift is that performance is no longer measured by function. We need to look at the whole value chain, all the functions together, because the client is not experiencing only one piece, but the whole end-to-end result. So that for me is the most important thing. Then the organization that will perform the best are not necessarily the one with the most tools, data, or better operations or better sales, but the one with better process, transparency, and better decisions, which really impacts the delivery to and the experience of the client.
Sure.
Yeah. If I may, Borja, yeah, for me it's the same, because the performance it's systemic today. It's not functional, right? It's not only about optimizing each department. It's about connecting, and this is the point that I think is the most important one, is connecting people, connecting the whole organization to execute end-to-end processes. So for me, it's this connection between people and processes and technology, ensuring the organization moving as a whole, not independently with the silos, the famous silo that we speak about every day.
Exactly.
I think, Jose, I just wanted to add regarding the measurement of performance, now it's a little bit more real time. We don't have to wait until like end of a month, end of a quarter. We have more real-time data. We have also ways to understand, kind of predict the future. And that's the way, not only the way predict the performance of the processes, but also performance of the individuals.
True.
but not least, yeah, I agree with my colleagues here. I want to add a new one that I've seen in the supply chain and logistics industry is we are moving from only lagging indicators. So we normally are measured based on P&L or high level KPIs. But now we see a lot the cascading down into functions and teams where they manage the leading indicators rather than lagging. So it's more they have an influence on the big KPIs. So that's what I see more and more in the industry.
True. So main takeaway. So performance is no longer functional and department. So we need performance all over, and not only for operational areas, also for indirect and all areas, with more connection with people and digital, and also end to end. And in terms of measurement, yes, now we have better data, not only for lagging, but also for leading KPIs. Absolutely truth. I would like to begin to deep dive a bit with the first question that, at least for me, is very interesting. It's for you, Jose. You come from banking, that it's, I think it's a sector that can teach the rest of the sectors a bit, mainly about the complexity of organizing processes in big companies, usually bank. First of all, let me only say something. A small disclaimer. So all of us that are here are speaking by ourselves. So we are representing ourselves, not the companies where we are working, only because if it's personal opinions in all the cases. So Jose, I was saying, how a big bank like yours, and with all those regulations that from time to time they change. So we have like a structured, complex, lot of people, a lot of regions. How do you balance consistency from global definition of processes without sacrificing the local agility? Is it even possible? How you are organizing like that?
Yeah, thanks for the question. Absolutely. So big banks have gone under a lot of pressure from the regulators, not only local regulators, global regulators. And I've worked for big banks with 200,000 employees, presence in hundreds of countries, with a lot of complexity and also moving slowly. So that has been always a challenge because any change had to go through different levels of approvals, reviews. But one of the things that banks, as other highly regulated industry, have to do, like healthcare and some other industries, is to show the regulators what work is being done and how the work is being done. So most banks, big companies have adopted like the process taxonomies, starting to organize all the processes, hundreds, thousands of processes, how they can organize those using process taxonomies, using domains. That's kind of like the best practice right now. That you start with the end-to-end value chain, the enterprise value chain for the customer, from the customer perspective, from prospecting, acquiring, onboarding, fulfilling, servicing, monitoring, and exiting. In all those domains, you have different processes. So you go from level 0 at the domain level, and then you go to the level 1, where you have processes like KYC, know your customer, that is supporting those level 0 domains. In fulfillment as well, you have different processes. So all those processes level 1, still a pretty high level, but at least consistent across different line of business, different type of products, different type of services. And then you get to level 2, where you have the global processes standards, where you can see processes defined in a way that you can align and you can assign ownership. So we have process owners. They're accountable for performance. They are also accountable for the decision making on changes, because instead of having 20 different senior leaders that have to review and approve a change in a process, now you have a single person that is going to be accountable for not only the performance, but also for the changes and for the future of that process. And then you go to level 3, where you have those processes, the same processes, but defined at the local level. And you allow the different leaders in the different countries to be able to make those changes, but within some boundaries, because you still have your process. There has to be the core process that you have to understand, and you have the metrics, and you have the way to conduct the process, but they can be adapted to the local regulations, to the local requirements, and that provides more agility to the different, what we said, the local owners, to be able to change rather than waiting for changes to be approved at a high level. They can adapt and change quickly instead of having to wait for other senior leaders, like maybe in the headquarters, to make those decisions.
Thank you, Jose. It's very interesting, and I think I take also a good takeaway. So when we talk about processes, the process has different levels of definition. So maybe we can standardize and be more consistent when we define a process at a high level, but we can give some small flexibility and agility at the lowest level of the definition, allowing local teams to be accountable to react quickly. And the next question is about the combination of value chains and departments. If we want to be effective, improving or transforming processes, we need to address them end to end. But organizations of companies usually don't follow the same structure, and we are organized by silos. So we create additional walls and constraints that make it more difficult. So Daniel, you came from a very truly global organization. What has been more effective to breaking down silos? It's about governance, processes, standardization, or it's about cross-functional leadership. What is your opinion?
No, thanks for the question. But let's first think of the impact that silos have in the organization that we all know, right? We always see these employees working hard to solve all these problems that come from previous processes, and they try to do that at the same time as they deliver the value to the customer. We see the data quality between functions and teams. They focus on their own data quality, but the connection with the different functions is not optimal. Then we also have conflicting KPIs. How many times we've been in global companies and we have silo thinking, and everybody has tons of KPIs, and we start fighting with their own KPIs. So it's a very cumbersome process to manage by the leaders and the employees. Another symptom is the amount of projects that we have, because we have a large amount of KPIs in each function, in each team. Every functional leader tries to solve them through projects, through initiatives. So we start seeing a massive amount of projects. And then the one that strikes me the most is the silence between the different functions. So what I mean is that you have in the same building, you have different teams, and they are connecting only through emails to blame each other, or to try to solve problems through email, and it's as easy as to stand up and go to the same office. So we all aware of the big problems of silos, but we see it over and over again. So for me to solve the problem of silos, or first, leadership must recognize the problem of silos. So for me, how to visualize the problem of silos in different ways. My favorite one is when you go to a global company and ask, okay, let's define, or let's list all the projects that you have running at the same time in the company. And each project needs to define purpose, impact, resources, investments, and so on. And you normally realize after getting the entire list is that more than 50% of these projects are not related to the strategic journey of the company. So that for me is a symptom of silo thinking, and not so much on value streams. So first, the leadership needs to believe that it's a silo problem to be able to get it. And once the leadership believes that there is a problem, then we can do something about it. And these things we can already start including in the strategic journey a resolution of the silo thinking. We can maybe simplify the business. We can create an operational backbone. So we look at what processes, what systems, what data do we need in the future. We also need an operational excellence, a strong operational excellence journey, not only an academy. It's about bringing the habits to leadership and employees to systematically think how to deliver value to our customers. And my final one that is very controversial is to change the reward system to the leadership. And that's a topic by itself in another panel. But so not only quarterly or annual rewarding system, we need to rethink and how do we create a reward system based on value stream, based on eliminating silos, based on leadership habits. So that's the conversation the leadership should have.
Sure. Not only the reward system, but also in general, all the targets to be more aligned with end-to-end process, not so much in functions, because it's also a way to focus people. So thank you so much, Daniel. Very clear. I would like now to go again with a cross question for the entire group, and it is where does the end-to-end execution most often break down when we face this kind of transformation activities? It's more about strategic activities, processes, or people behaviors, or any other things. Elio?
And I would say it breaks down in between these three, and this goes very well with what Daniel was saying about the leadership, how we reward the behavior and the whole value stream and lean actions. How many organizations do we have a clear strategy? Do we also have amazing processes on paper and people working very hard, but these things are not going in the same direction? I've seen it several times, and I'm sure you have seen it as well. Here is where this operational excellence, or the Kaizen or lean transformation, which will help us, and the leadership. The leadership keeps the system aligned and creates the discipline, and especially with the topic of today, the digital intelligence also is a big enabler and a big tool for that, because it increases the level of transparency and knowledge. It can increase if it's properly used, to make sure we keep the strategy, the process, and the people aligned. That's how I see it.
I really like all the comments because all of them are linked or to one thing that we have not mentioned, I think, and it's a culture of the company, right? It's we are speaking about culture, but just speaking about processes, alignment, strategy, all these kind of things. For me, it's the point is the lack of change management. We are not managing projects or transformation, putting really our energy or our focus on the change that we really want to make in our organizations. So that's one of the biggest key elements that we are missing when we are trying to transform. We are creating, best case, we have a plan of change management. We write down something, we have communication, we have these kind of things. But at the end, we are not managing actively the change. We are not managing actively at all levels the change. And in some cases, what I see is that we send a big communication as a big transformation that we want to do, but we are not managing day to day the things that we need to change, and we need to have on board the whole organization in some cases, because a big transformation requires a big change a big change management approach. So from my point of view, this is not a strategy, as was mentioned before. It's not a strategy, it's not processes, it's not people behavior. It's at the end is how we manage everything as a whole, and yeah, and to ensure the alignment, top down, of course, also was mentioned before.
Absolutely agree. Absolutely. Jose, what's your point?
I would agree with all of you. We just add a little of a fun fact. 70% of the change fails. 70% of the change fails. Why? The lack of change management, like you all said. I mean, people don't understand what needs to be changed and why it needs to be changed and how to support the change. So that's where companies have to put a lot of more emphasis and focus and energy, like you all said.
Yeah, I think you're spot on. I would like to add one more point. So for me, it's the lack of systematic structure to anchor or to anchor new habits. So what do I mean by that? So when we ask for something like a complete change in organization, a digital transformation, and any transformation that we want, we don't give the company enough tools or enough structure to be able to change. So it's basically the strategy saying this is where we want to be, these are the processes we want to run, but the behavior part is there's nothing included in the strategy. So we have the same leadership, the same teams, running the processes that they do very well, and then we are asking to transform, and we are not giving anything to help change habits. So, and for me, I'll give you an example. So we want a problem-solving culture, and go ahead. We give you some training, and you should be able to do it, and you expect everybody to change. So if you don't work on setting those habits and creating the structure in the company to that people can practice these habits, nothing is going to happen. So for me, that's the change management approach for sure. But the lack of understanding that to change behaviors, habits, and routines, you need to do something in your company to be able to do that.
We usually tend to underestimate the effort of the change management, and sometimes we think that change management is only about communication. It's also about changing habits in the daily activities. Even transformation sometimes is only at the board level, and then you go to the shop floor, nobody knows what we are transforming and why do we need to transform anything, what is the vision. So I think we usually do not very well in this. Let me now change a bit the topic. Let's go a bit deeper in this digital intelligence. It was one of the topic for today. Oscar, in your case, you are the transformation leader and digital intelligence. But some companies, I would say most of the companies are investing a lot in digital in technology, but I am not sure everybody really is taking real value of these investments, or at least as much as they expected at the beginning. What is your opinion or your suggestion on how to make it better, and what differentiates this or those companies that really takes advantage of this?
Yeah, I would say that we are speaking about this during the conversation, because at the end, technology alone doesn't not create impact. So the difference is the combination of people engagement and operational discipline. Because at the end, to turn this digital investment into real decisions. And to do that, what we need is clear processors and ownership. We need data connected to real priorities, because sometimes we have a lot of data, a lot of dashboards, Power BIs, but are not really connected to the business, to the needs of the business, to our targets. And the final thing that I would say we need is people understanding how to use this, because without that, the dashboards or the reporting are useful. So with the right people, the routines, accountability, they can make really good decisions for the business. So for me, the question is not if we have good technology. The question is if this technology is changing how we are prioritizing or are making decisions in our company. So it's not the tool, it's how we use the technology or the tool to impact in our business.
Sometimes when we invest in some technology, we think this will solve our problems, and then we have the same problems and sometimes more problems.
Yes, yeah.
Then
We need to change the behavior. Yeah,
need to change the behavior. I think you have
yeah,
very important topics for me. I think it's better data itself don't bring better decisions or results
no,
if you don't know how to use them.
yeah, absolutely.
Although we need better data, I'm not
Yes, of course.
saying we need it a lot, but we also need to work on how to use it.
Absolutely.
And also aligning with this digital intelligence, it's expected also to help a lot to the operational excellence efforts. You, Daniel, is working a lot in operational excellence. So what is your experience? How does digital intelligence help in operational excellence to really bring productivity and not only more data, not useful?
Yeah, sure. I think I'm following a little bit of what Oscar is saying. But first, I want to, for me, the definition of that digital intelligence is what the most majority of people think of digital intelligence is the ability of the company to look at the data that they have. Hopefully, it's a good quality data, and the capability to analyze this data and bring it up to the people in a format that is easily readable. So reporting basically, right? But for me, the definition is a bit. We need to expand it a little bit. What Oscar was saying is, what do we do with this data? That's the second part of the digital intelligence. So who is accessing this data? What are you doing with this data? It's not the same a functional head or a frontline operator. So this information reaches there, but there needs to be some routines behind, some habits in the company to be able to manage this data. That's the second part of the digital intelligence. And the third part, probably the most difficult one, is where you have the silo in the company. So we have different data. So how can we create one version of the truth for the entire company? Is something that any strategy should have at the moment to be able to see, okay, if sales and operations data are connected, yes or no. So that's really something we should all look at. So those are the three characteristics of the business intelligence in my mind. So how everything is connected with OpEx. I'll give you an example. So if we have a good data and it's portrayed in a good way to any person in the company, and then you see reds or greens, and that red or greens you can react, you can prepare or plan a problem solving for that red. You go, a good team tries to solve the problem. We can use AI as a digital clerk in that problem solving. We follow a process, we improve or create a new process, and we define the data around that process to be able to monitor going forward. So it's all connected together in a very simplistic way. But the most important is that the data is available for everybody, is coming from a good source. We trust the data, we react to it, and we improve the business and we improve our performance over time.
I think it's very interesting, Daniel, because my question was if digital, how could help OpEx, and it helps because it's better if you have better data. But you are always also saying, I think it's very important that also OpEx helps digital, because OpEx also help people how to use data. So it's not only that digital helps OpEx, but it's also in the other way around. And I think I absolutely agree with this. Again, another open question, again, discussing this, I think it's a very interesting one. What is your opinion about should digital in general adapt to your existing processes, or should we force a fundamental rethink of the processes to adapt to the new digital data activities and capabilities?
I think we answered a little bit in the previous question, no? With OpEx data OpEx. I think it needs to do both, but in the right sequence. So first we need to understand the process and remove the waste, ambiguity, so make a clear, strong process that we can follow. And because if we don't do that, then we will digitize the complexity or the waste, and this is what we don't want. So once the process is there, it's strong, clear, understood, then we can go ahead and digitize the solution. And then if the data then shows some more improvements or delays or challenges in the process, then we can. So somehow it's also a continuous cycle of improvement, if we can say. But I would say first, we make sure we do not digitize the complexity. We look at the process, and then we go for digitalization, and then the digitization will also change the process itself. So it's a bit of a cycle, I would say.
Yeah, I think it's something in the middle. Oh, sorry, Borja.
No, go ahead. Please.
No. I was saying that it's something in the middle because yeah, all of us know examples of change a paper, and we have the same paper but in a PDF. So that's that makes no sense. It's digital, but it's not an improvement. So we need to challenge the processes. We need to challenge knowing what is the potential, what is the potential improvement that the technology offers us. So it's something that we need to find the balance between both. So you can do this example of paper to PDF, or you have other examples saying just I deploy thousands of AI licenses, and it's digital. We are digital. We are using AI. This is something that is not going to work. It's just giving our people licenses is something that make no sense, and we need to again manage the change. We need to train people. We need to balance how ready it's our organization to adapt our behavior to this new tool. So from my point of view, it's something in the middle. Technology can help us to challenge, but don't put technology if you are not sure that the process that we are going to implement is better than the previous one. So
I wanted to share in one of my roles, I was in a group that we have two teams. One was conducting process reengineering, and the other one was doing smart automation. And anytime that we had a request from one of the line of business to review their processes, we first tried to optimize the process. We had a template to kind of assess if it was a good candidate for automation or for reengineering streamlining first. So that was great because they gave us the opportunity to, like you said, reduce waste, eliminate waste, streamline the process, optimize the process, and then automate the process. Now there are new tools now that actually you can do it the other way around. You set up the requirements of your process, the goals of your process, you put it in one of these many tools that are available. And actually the tool is going to tell you how your process should look like. You can even upload a process map, and the automation, the digital automation, artificial intelligence can tell you where the bottlenecks, where the inefficiencies, where the lack of controls of the risks, and provide you with the proposed future state. So there are different ways. It all depends on the maturity of the company using these tools. But I think that, yes, my motto has been always focus on the process, optimize the process, and then look for ways to automate that process. Because like we were saying, the old days, if you were getting 5 errors a day with the semi-manual process, if you automate that process, you're gonna have hundreds of errors, defects every day. So yeah, it's interesting how this is evolving, because now artificial intelligence is not only helping to optimize, automate parts of the process, but actually to design and get to the new level, to the next level of how that process should look like. And in some cases, most of these mundane activities that somebody was doing, either quality control or kind of like data entry, now can be eliminated, because now we're creating capacity, and that has been one of the challenges with selling artificial intelligence, because people feel afraid that they're going to lose their jobs. And it's actually, it should be looked more as capacity creation, people moving into roles that they're going to be adding more value with their experience, rather than doing repetitive tasks that can be replaced by automation.
If I may, I agree. I think it's both, but let me focus on the I think we fundamentally need to rethink it. I have companies should aim to become digital sooner rather than later, because we know examples of asset-driven companies like taxis, who suddenly the taxis are not the most important, but the Ubers and the Cabifys bring the value to the company. So that's if you think of shipping lines, what could that be, right? So if you think about the ships as the asset, and who maybe if they are not fast enough, if they become stuck in the current business model, maybe there is a digital company will take over. So that's what I think there is a alarming shout to companies like in shipping lines to get digital as soon as possible. So digital intelligence for me is beyond digitization, which means to automate and to make process better. It's about completely creating a new operational backbone. So what processes, what data, what systems do we need in the future to deliver value to our customers? So be quick or die in the moment. So that's kind of for me quite alarming.
I think my takeaway of this, it's a tricky question, but my main takeaway is you need to bring the principles of process improvement first. What is the customer, what the customer wants, how to create flow. But if you want to improve this process, you need to understand what digital can do for you, because you need to also understand how digital can help even during this first approach. So it's something in the middle, I think, or as Elio and Oscar was saying, it's something that probably is a cycle. But, the second cycle is very close to the first one, because you need also to put digital very, very quickly in the way you think how the process should look like. And also leadership was one of the topics that we wanted to talk about, and we have Elio, that you are COO of a company. We usually say that digital helps in decision making, But I don't know if everybody understands what kind of decisions it really help and how. So my question for you was, in the position of a leadership with many people and many processes and many sites, how digital really helps a position like yours to make decisions, or what kind of decisions they are not, or how could we use more efficient data to make better decisions?
That's that's a good one. No? As you are saying, the decisions we are taking usually, or I would say almost all of the cases, are with imperfect information. No? We don't have always all the data to make the decision confident that we have and can predict what will happen. In this context, what digital intelligence adds or helps is to increase the transparency and create a fact base. I think this is the main added value from digital intelligence. So, for example, let me use one thing, which is one situation which is happening now. We are a Middle East company. We are in UAE. We have factory in Dubai and Abu Dhabi, among others in the group. But these two are now, especially, and the others in the Middle East, affected by the situation. No? We have the disruption in material flows, raw material flows incoming, also our exports with the ships not being able to go through the strait. So to manage this situation, we have put in place what we like to call a raw material control tower and the projects and orders control tower. So these are two tools which maybe are very simple, but are based on this digital intelligence. We have now put in place two centralized points where we can see real time all the data related to raw materials, the stocks, the exact location, if there is anything inbound, the consumptions, everything, and another one for the projects, knowing also the status of production, the delivery dates, the expectation, the freight, if there is any liquidated damages, all the information. So these two control towers are making a big difference in the decision making and management of the crisis. Are they perfect and containing all the answers and all the facts for the decision making? Of course not, because we don't have them. But thanks to that, we can base our decisions in a way more first faster and without, let's say, more level of detail and accuracy to try and predict what is the best outcome. I think this is very, very important. So it's a very powerful tool, the digital intelligence, which will help us in this common fact base to make sure we have this transparency and better information and data to make decisions. Of course, it will not solve the question or bring all the question marks and clear all the question marks, but it helps a lot in terms of decision making. Another quick example, we are now playing, let me say, playing with AI, trying to use an LLM to help us plan our raw materials, the purchasing, where do we send them, and so on. And the technology is there, the algorithm, the LLM is there, but here the real challenge is the data quality and the governance. How do we make sure we have the right data to feed the system and get? So I think with these two examples, what I mean to say is digital intelligence is a very, very strong tool which help us in decision making, but it will never, or for them, it will not replace the operating model and the process. It exposes or it helps us see where the model is strong and working, but at the same time, if the model is not strong, it will not cover for the weaknesses. But it definitely helps, and it's definitely the way to go and the tool to implement nowadays, and the foundation for what's coming next. Because if we don't have a proper digital intelligence with the proper data government, the next levels of automation, AI, what's coming, we will not be able to achieve.
In fact, we are making some projects now about defining good data for the process, so later artificial intelligence may be more useful for this, and how we define the processes also to be automated in the future. But I think, Eli, you have made a very good example. I think decision making in terms of digital, supply chain is a good example because it makes visible a lot of things that helps. If you are going to have problems of service, it can make very visible. If you are lacking material or whatever problem, it make visible. So in supply chain, I think digital intelligence make a big difference because it makes problems visible before happening, and it really helps a lot to react quickly. And I would like also to question Jose regarding this leadership and in general skills for leaders. What do you think that are the main leadership skills and capabilities that are essential to align technology processes and people in this kind of complex transformations?
That's a great question. So leaders that are more successful, that will be more successful this year and or in the future, are going to be the ones that are able to integrate people, process, and technology, harmonize people, process, and technology, because all of those elements are part of the big ecosystem, and sometimes the leaders have to actually understand what works best, when to implement some changes in technology, or how to make the culture embrace those changes and be able to sustain the progress that has been done in regards to any transformation efforts. So now leaders have to be more open to new ideas and new solutions. It could be not only technology solutions, but also solutions to how the business is conducted, how the business is run, and rely on their direct managers and also on their employees to make that happen. The times that micromanagement was the way to go, or management by fear, I think that's what is killing sometimes the people's desire to do things better, to be creative. And that's the leaders that are going to survive or be more successful are the ones that are delegating and empowering their people to be able to execute those changes and execute new ideas.
I completely agree, Jose. I think in the near future we have a lot of changes. A lot of. Maybe when we think about leadership skills, we think about digital skills. But also connecting with the previous discussion, we also need a lot of change management skills in our leaders and in our leadership in general. And this is related with what you are saying, empowering people, process control, talking a lot, creating new habits, and so on, because we are facing a big transformation in all companies, and leaders are the key for those transformations. So I completely agree with this. Jose, thank you so much for your takeaway. I would like to make one last open question. Can you all bring some additional examples of how combination of leadership, continuous improvement, and digital has created a significant impact in your businesses?
Let me use the example of the LLM I was using before. As I was saying, we are now trying to develop a tool to help our procurement function to buy the raw materials and allocate. This is not a simple tool to just decide what to buy and where to buy, but we need to coordinate the central procurement and the 11 factories, and also the warehouse and the manufacturing and the deliveries and the distribution among them. So here we needed, on one hand, the good data, on the other hand, good communication, and then a good process. So here, if the person who was stating this was not understanding all the details and really covering it from this leadership point, the coordination and the execution, this would have never worked, because the tool itself will not fix it. The process itself, if it's not understood and followed, will not work. So I think that's a good example of combination of the leadership, the process, and the digital intelligence.
Good.
Well, in my case, well, I have seen a lot of transformations, and was mentioned before. I think it was Jose saying that 70% fail. So yeah, I would agree with that figure. Um, from my point of view, one lesson learned is that you need to align people. If you want to be successful, you need to align people. You need to include all kind of profiles in your transformations, all levels. One simple example from my side would be to have challengers as part of this transformation, a group of people, diverse people, different profiles, different levels of the organization that are able to say, I don't see this. You can present your proposals to them, and then they can say, okay, I don't see this in this way. You need people trying to support the change, always with constructive feedback, because this is the key element there, because feedback sometimes is just to destroy the transformation, because the transformation is also something that could create some fear in the organization, could create, yeah, uh, bad feelings in the organization. And you need some people saying, okay, I see this, but maybe not in the way was defined by you, by the program, or by the team of, but yeah, I would say that that's a lesson learned, to have a diverse group of people in the organization to present and to validate in some cases. And sometimes you see that you had things that you had not in your radar, and you need to change, and you need to adapt. And it's from my point of view, this is a lesson learned, link again, sorry, with the change management, because at the end you can use this group of people not just for this challenge, also to support the change in the whole organization. So that's one example that I have experienced in my multiple projects.
There's so many things that could go wrong in transformation, and so many parts of the process, from initiation through execution and monitoring, and being able to, again, use those lessons learned and feedback to do better next time around. And sometimes some companies, some organizations are not managing change. So there is change saturation. So people can't take anymore. So many changes. So you have to also organize your change. It's not changing things for the sake of changing things, just for saying, yeah, we have changed this many things at the end of the year.
Okay. I have an example, concrete example, with one of my clients in a port business. They had the digital board, they had the technology, but the main symptoms in the meeting was, this is not correct, this is not my KPI. So it's more than managing the business, was like to try to find excuses why this data is not correct, so I don't have to do anything. So what we did is go back to manual. So we asked everybody to write their own number. So for what? To give ownership on the number. And second, to understand where the number is coming from. The second part was to create the routines. What to do with these numbers? If it's red, what is the routine for the reds? And if it's green, what is the routine for greens? Once we mature on the routines and the ownership of the data, we went back to digital boards, and to help we use it as a tool of the routines behind the daily, weekly, monthly cadence. So yeah, technology can be there, but if we don't combine it with the habits, of excellence and the leadership, it's not going to happen. So that's an example to how the three combines to deliver value to our customers.
I have one last quick question, not easy to solve, but I think also very interesting. If you could summarize in one idea what truly differentiates organizations that consistently execute well today, what would it be?
I can start if I think those who really understand that the process they put in place and the digitalization of the process, it's really matching exactly what's going on in my case, coming from manufacturing, in the shop floor. How many times we implemented SAP or any ERP thinking this will solve or will be the digitalization and the next, and we end up having more inefficiency than we expected and so on. So I think the difference is that clear strategy, clear process, and this 100% connected understanding the reality of the floor and our value to be delivered to the client, I think is what makes the difference.
Regarding the best executors in terms of transformation, I would say that those that are able to be ambidextrous, which is a concept that I like really much. Being able to keep the operational rhythm and at the same time being able to transform, because at the end, transformation is not about technology. We mentioned before, it's about execution of operations, daily operations, and also execution of the transformation. And I would add a point that I don't think we have mentioned specifically, but it's about value. It's the value that we add with this transformation, with the change that we are trying to do. So I would say that the companies that are able to be ambidextrous, managing change and creating real value through it.
I would say that also some of the best companies are the ones that have the operating models and governance processes to manage the change and transformation. That way, the interactions between all the different people working on transformation and change, they understand what is their role, what are the timelines, what are the controls and metrics, and you can have better results and prioritize the change that is needed rather than creating just change for the sake of creating change, which is going to create more work, frustration, and chaos.
For me, what really differentiates is the maturity and the systemic thinking. So for me, systemic thinking is a living system of habits, processes, systems, and data, all pulling on the same direction. And the direction is what is defined in the vision, mission, and the strategy of the company. Either growth, becoming digital, or just be amazing with your customers' performance.
Thank you all very much. That was my last question. I think we are all in a big transformation. We have a lot of challenges and difficulties for these transformations. We have complexities between local and global. We have this silo organization. We are investing in digital, but not always creating real value. We have leadership challenges with lack of some leadership skills. But I think now we have some good ideas and takeaways on how to go through all of them. To create real value in organizations, we need to combine wisely continuous improvement, leadership, and digital under only one perspective. And I think an operating model is very useful for that, to do this consistently in everywhere and every day. At least for me, it was a very interesting discussion. Thank you all for your knowledge, for your experience, and also for your openness and transparency to discuss with us all these topics. And thank you also, all of you that are in the other side. I hope you also enjoy this discussion. And I hope I hope I see you in our next session of the Culture of Impact series. Thank you so much, and thank you all.
Thank
Have a
you.
great day.